In this week's segment, we were introduced to this concept of positive self-talk. And one of the things that we really need to understand is what a huge impact our thoughts about ourselves and our thoughts about a situation can really impact the outcome of that situation. But it's really hard to shift to a more positive type of self-talk unless we're able to recognize what we have going on inside of our own heads. So before I introduce the activity that we're going to do this week to help us get better at recognizing what we have going on inside of our own heads, I have to introduce you to a concept that I learned a really long time ago that kind of goes along with the activity that we're going to do. So the concept that I learned was that our thoughts determine our feelings, which determine our actions. So this whole thoughts, feelings, actions progression tends to happen a lot in people's lives, and it dictates a lot of times their behavior. And we see this in people who are happy. They maybe have some positive thoughts going on, positive self-talk, which leads to positive feelings of feeling happy and uplifted and upbeat, and then they act that way. They are happy, they're smiling, they're laughing, they're outgoing, and we can kind of see that progression happening in their behavior. It also happens in the negative. Like if we have a situation that makes us angry and upset, for a lot of people, that comes out in their actions or their behavior. They act angry and they act upset. I mean, think about road rage, where something happens that people think shouldn't have happened and then led to negative thoughts of, that person's a terrible driver and they shouldn't even be on the road. And then they feel angry and frustrated and go 0 to ballistic in 2.2 seconds. So we know that this progression happens and oftentimes is a pattern in people's lives. What we need to do is get better at recognizing those patterns. So today we're going to do an activity that is geared towards helping us recognize ways that we take care of ourselves and ways that we don't in our thoughts and our feelings and our actions. A couple weeks ago, we gave you guys a calendar that was a challenge to you, and I hope you've been rising to this challenge of trying to do better at taking care of yourselves and also the people around you. So today we're going to do an activity that requires your group to get broken down into 6 smaller teams. So right now, what I need you guys to do is to pause this video and get into 6 smaller groups, and each group is going to need a piece of paper and something to write with. Once you have those things and you're ready to go, start this video again. Okay, now that you have your 6 groups, on the top of your paper, I need each group to take one of these 6 categories. Group 1, you are going to be ways that we take care of ourselves in our thoughts. Group 2, ways that we take care of ourselves in our feelings. Group 3, ways that we take care of ourselves in our actions. Group 4, ways that we don't take care of ourselves in our thoughts. Group 5, ways that we don't take care of ourselves in our feelings. And Group 6, ways that we don't take care of ourselves in our actions. Now, what you're going to do is take a couple minutes, and I want you to come up with as many examples as you can for whatever your group's category is. The 2 groups that have thoughts, here are some tips for you. I want you to write these as I statements. So they might be thoughts that people actually have about themselves. It might be something like, I can do this, or I'm awful at this, or I can't do math. For the 2 groups that have the feelings categories, I want you to kind of think about the underlying thoughts and what those feelings might be attached to those thoughts. So for the examples that I just gave, I can do this. The feelings might be feeling proud or feeling determined. If the thought was, I can't do math, the feelings that might go with that might be feeling frustrated or feeling defeated. The actions groups, you guys have, in my opinion, the easiest ones. It's kind of easy to figure out the things that people do or don't do to take care of themselves. But if you have any problems, ask your teacher and they can get you going in the right direction. Go ahead and work on this for a couple minutes. Come up with as many examples as you can. Pause this video and then start it again when you're ready. To start the discussion, we're going to have the groups that focused on the ways that we don't take care of ourselves go first. The group that has thoughts, I want you guys to share your examples first, followed by the feelings that might be associated with those thoughts, And then we're going to follow that up with the actions that might come out of those not so positive thoughts and feelings. Teachers, pause the video on the next couple slides as you discuss each of the questions with your group. Now let's look at some of the examples you came up with of how people take care of themselves in their thoughts and their feelings and their actions. Thoughts group, you're going to go first, followed by the feelings that might come out of those thoughts, and then actions group, you go last. Teachers, pause the video on the next couple of slides and discuss the questions with your group. Now that your group has had a chance to share your answers, I'm going to guess that you notice that there's one pattern of thoughts, feelings, actions that tends to be more positive and ones that tend to be more negative. On a side note, I just wanted to make a mention about the fact that feelings aren't necessarily positive or negative, good or bad. They just are. It's how we feel in the moment. It's what we do with them that can be positive or negative. So it's important that we start to recognize these patterns in ourselves. And maybe you notice that, well, maybe my pattern isn't super positive. And the next logical question is, how do we shift to a more positive pattern of thoughts, feelings, and actions in our life? This can be pretty challenging because we are constantly bombarded with negative messages from the media, from people, especially on social media, and from society in general. So how do we start to shift to a more positive way of thinking and feeling about ourselves and about our lives and about our life situations so that our actions follow suit? The first thing that we need to do to be able to do this is we need to recognize when we're being taken over by this negative pattern. The next thing that we can do is shift to a more positive one. And it's not necessarily an easy thing to do, but it is something that we can get better at if we practice it. We have to get better at being able to recognize when we're being taken over by negative thoughts, and our feelings kind of follow those thoughts, and then our actions start to come out of that. We need to be able to take almost like a mental, emotional step back and recognize when we're doing that and when that's happening to us. But when we start to recognize that and shift our attention to something more positive, we start to see that pattern start to become more positive over time. The thing is, though, it might not be the easiest thing to do, but like I said, it's something that we can get better at with practice. And next week, we're going to do 3 different activities to help us practice getting better at being able to recognize when we're being taken over by this negativity. Thanks for your participation this week. See you next time.